Sitting here with Keith Hogstad, manager, owner of a business, and kind of an interesting entrepreneur. I found Keith, and we started some 10 months ago. You say, and you are pretty proud about your physical that you come back with now after chatting with the fellows that inspect you. Maybe you'd just like to address that from taking Be Pure and changing your diet a little bit.
Yes, I've done both. So I'm 64 years old. I was born and raised a farm boy, so we were big into meat and potatoes. Never really knew there was other food out there, but irregardless, I always ate plenty and never really had the time or took the time to worry about health. Was the least of my priorities. Worked a lot, played hard, but health was never an issue. But up until about 2016, that's when I started having blood pressure problems, running in the 160s on the upper end, pretty consistent too, all the way across. For 6 months at a time, I just kept peaking out at that point. And that's when I started realizing, and at that point I also weighed like 248 pounds. So that's when I started thinking it's time to try to do something. So I, at that point, started dieting, and it kind of fluctuated a little bit up and down, and nothing really changed. Increased my blood pressure medicine to help bring my blood pressure down, and that seemed to work a little bit. But most recently now, well, it's been, I think, a year and a half now, where then I started developing diabetes problems. So I was running, my hemoglobin was running up and over 7%, and what they say, the doctors say, is anytime you get to 7% of your A1C, you're diabetic. You just broke the record. So anyway, as Steve said, we've been on this for 11 months. After going today, my blood pressure was 122, which is phenomenal. And my hemoglobin was 6.2%. So that's well below, that's average. That's what the average is for people.
For 3 months.
Yeah, for 3 months. Yep. So I was real excited about that. It was great news, because I've been fighting that percentage, for it seems like an eternity, but it's been about 2 years. So along with that, changing how I eat. So I said earlier I weighed 248 pounds. Today I weighed 232. So it doesn't drop fast, but it keeps, every so often, a couple pounds disappear. So, and the big thing for me is to keep it off, because I still like to eat.
Tell me about your energy level, and more important, perhaps the calmness that I'm seeing in you today. From the first time I met you, you were kind of like water on a hot tin plate. But today you're just a lot calmer, and you might go into that a little bit.
Yeah, I wish I could explain that. I always have been hyper, having to be on the go or doing something all the time. I think that was how my dad and mom raised me. So it's hard for me to sit down and relax. But something has definitely changed, because I can sit down and relax a whole lot easier than I ever could before. It was just one of those things where you sit down for 10 minutes and then giddy up and do something. So I don't know what, if your stuff has helped in that respect, or I can't honestly answer that. But I know it's sure working on my health results. So that makes me all the more excited to keep on going.
Well, in the world that we're living in, where the anxiety is really extraordinarily high, tell me how that's affected you, or how you've dealt with it. That's key.
Oh, one thing that age helps with is puts things into perspective, gives you a little more wisdom maybe.
You learned all that in 8 months?
Yeah. I think you're maybe have a little clearer head to where you think things through more than just get up and go. Yeah.
Well, when I talked to Bob, one of the things that we addressed, and he felt like you would be good to address also, is the relationship that you two guys have and how it carries over to the customers. I know that when people are comfortable with you as an individual and they trust you, there's something that goes on that's unspoken. So could you address that a little bit? Because I've watched you and Bob interact now, and he's your key go-to guy, I think.
Yes, he is. We've worked together for many years. I can't even tell you how many years. Easily since 2000, so 20 years that we know each other well, and we can pretty much tell what's on each other's mind just by looking at them. But he, along with myself, we're not really salespeople. We believe in selling the product. We're not high pressure people. We what I like about Bob so much is it's all true honesty. It's nothing made up. It's the facts of whether it's Anderson or Western Windows and Doors or what it is. We'll tell you the way it is, because we don't like after problems. We want you to be happy from the beginning. So, and I think that plays a big part. It's relaxing for me to have Bob here. Me knowing that anybody that walks in is going to be well taken care of. So, and along with that, I want everybody here to remain healthy and wealthy. So that's another big factor. And a lot of reason I've got going on the Beep here was looking down the road, looking down to your age, hoping that I can go hiking the monument as much as you do at that age.
What age is that now?
Oh, that
Keith,
that
come
older
on.
age.
Well, in terms of business, has it helped you as an individual perform better, last longer? Do you see?
Yeah, I last longer. Yep. I used to go home and fall asleep watching the news, and for probably an hour, and then wake up and go to bed. Now, there's times I still would like to do that, especially when I don't sleep during the night. But yeah, I've got a lot more energy. I can get up and go work for a while. Yep.
So the Mitzrayim, the sleep stuff that we build, put a little bit of language on that. Do you mind?
It has helped. I still have nights where I could drink several cups of that, and I don't think it'd put me out. And a lot's up here what gets started. So I take it every night, and I sleep like a baby when I go to bed, which is about 9:30, 10, and I'll sleep crash until about 2:30, 3 o'clock. And then up comes the eyeballs, and then the old gears start churning. And you lay there for about a half hour, and then you decide to get up and go do something. So, but even, with that thought in mind and the lack of sleep, it helps me get to sleep right away. So, and quite honestly, I'm always, when I get up at those 3 o'clock mornings and it's like, oh boy, I'm gonna drag today. And I really never do. Eventually, by the end of the week, then all of a sudden I'll sleep really good, like 8 hours. I'll just crash. So
I experience the same thing. Sometimes I just can't get this little puppy to shut down, and then the following night I'll get 7 hours of sleep, and I've never had that. And it is so really, really neat.
Yeah, it's been years since I've had 8 hours of sleep. So when I have those 8 hours or 7, I feel like I wasted time.
Well, Keith, One other thing I'd like to have you get into, and that's quantum physics and the understanding of what sets our program apart from what you've heard. And I know that you've looked online. What have you learned about frequencies and vibrations and things where we've talked about live nutrients and how important the change is? Then can you get into that a little bit?
A little bit. So I've learned a lot about frequencies, and the more I learn, the more I believe and really feel that's what keeps us healthy and going. Even with our latest co-virus thing, it kind of rose me up above everybody else because I felt like my frequencies are too high to get that stuff.
So you understand that?
Yep.
And you think a lot of that has to do with the oils that we're utilizing? Do you like that?
Yeah, I love the oils. I have one in my office and it runs every day. Sometimes twice a day I'll fill it. And you know what? That could be a possibility why
you're calmer.
I'm calmer, more relaxed.
Did you see yourself doing this before we really?
No. Not a chance.
So if we really pushed it and looked at other businessmen, they would be interested in what we're doing simply based on your history.
I would sure hope so. And I've got documented numbers on my whole health life, from when I developed high blood pressure. So yeah, I certainly think business people would be interested. I'd be amazed if whoever should be interested. Anybody that's creeped up in the years and are labeled obese like I am, should be checking this out. So, and I've tried other things before too, and I think what's been so helpful with you has been you're always around to when you have questions to answer them, because God only knows how many questions a guy has. And the stuff I've been on before may work, may not. I've tried so many different things I've found online and Facebook and all this stuff, and they're really good about charging you and shipping it to you, but there's no follow-up, nobody to call, so that's been the cool thing with you. So you taught me a lot.
Keith, it's been absolutely a joy for me to work with you over the last, you say 9 months?
11.
11 months.
Yeah, 11 months.
It has been really, really fun watching this whole thing develop, and we're gonna make this thing fly. Again, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank
your
you.
time.
All right.